by Mats Yukihiro Matsumoto. His name is a Japanese person, and he's the one who has created this language. This language was initially created, means Mats who created this language developed it on Linux. But Ruby is a very portable language. You can use it on Unix, Mac OS, Windows OS, DOS. It is applicable through all the operating systems. Okay, so this is just very brief about Ruby. But once we start getting into deep, you'll understand why and why we should start using Ruby as a language. Okay, so first we'll see what are the key features of Ruby. First is high level. Now you all must be knowing the difference between a low level language and a high level language. A high level language is where the commands that you write in a language are very clear. They are almost like writing English language. Okay, whereas low level languages, they'll be more of what do you say, more a tough syntax or something, whereas high level languages will be very simple to read and write. So Ruby is a high level language. Next, it is an interpreted scripting language. Interpreted and compiled, there are two types of programming languages. So Ruby is an interpreted scripting language. Means they do not need a compiler to run the program. You can run a Ruby program anywhere. Once you have Ruby installed, you don't need any other program to run the file. Okay, what you need is just the Ruby installed in your system. Using Ruby, you do not make directly operating system calls. It has its inbuilt ability to do that. Next, object oriented. So what is object oriented? As all the languages today, all the modern languages that we use, most of them are object oriented. That is, everything is object. Now you you must be accustomed to other programming languages like Java or C++, which are object oriented. The same object oriented concepts do apply to Ruby. So Ruby is an object. Next is Ruby is quick and easy. Quick and easy in the sense, learning Ruby is very simple, much simpler than learning Java, C++. The concepts are easy to grasp and easy to execute also. And one of the good features and happy for programmer feature is that it has automatic memory management. You don't have to bother about garbage collection, allocating memories, no pointers, no such features. It is a very simple and easy to use language. Okay. So we'll go ahead. Now, when you install Ruby, okay. So when you install Ruby, Ruby can be installed through, there's a very simple process of installing Ruby. Once you install it, you get something called IRB. IRB is Interactive Ruby Shell, wherein you can just start typing Ruby commands. We'll just see one sample example so that you all can understand how to do it. Before that, we'll see how to download Ruby. Ruby can be downloaded from this link. Ruby is an open source software. Anybody can download it. It doesn't require any permissions or any licensing, nothing. You can just go to this site and start downloading Ruby. The current version that Ruby uses is 2.4.0. Anything above Ruby 2 should be preferable for programming now. Ruby code can be written in the IRB, which I have just spoken about. You can also use any of the text editors like Notepad, Notepad++, Sublime Text. These are all very modern editors and help you, highlighting of syntaxes and all will be very nice in this. And to save a Ruby file, we use the extension of .rb. Like how you save a C file with hello.c or a C++ with .cpp. Similarly, a Ruby file will be saved with an extension of .rb. Okay, so you just note down this link so that you could download it and start working on it. So we'll move ahead. Okay. Now we will see what is this IRB is. Now I'll go to my command prompt. Now first we'll check if the Ruby is successfully installed in the system or no. For that we use this command as ruby-v. What does ruby-v say? Ruby-v says that Ruby is at which version? In this system Ruby is currently at 2.0 version. Okay. Now we'll start with IRB. IRB is interactive Ruby shell. Interactive Ruby shell as in here you directly start writing Ruby commands. You don't have to create a file and then execute that Ruby command over here. Ruby command. You can directly start writing Ruby commands and start executing the programs. We'll start with a very basic command of hello world. Generally when you start writing your programs, the first program which we generally write is hello world program. So in other languages, when you're using C and C++, there are a lot of libraries that you include and you have certain steps to execute the program. Whereas when you start working on Ruby, you do not need all that. We can directly start writing a hello world program. So we'll just start here. Put as okay. So puts is something similar to a printf in C. Okay, it will print whatever text you give to it. So put s and space followed by whatever you want to print. I have printed here hello world and it got printed. Okay, so this is the basic program, a basic command in Ruby. You see something nil written here, that is the return type of puts. Okay, so what is puts? Puts is nothing but your printf like statement in C. Okay, so this is a very basic command and the first program that we return in Ruby. Okay, now coming back. Okay, so now suppose if I write a file called say hello_world.rb. Okay, and I save it somewhere. Later, if you want to run that file, what do? I'll just type ruby hello_world.rb. I should run this in again the command prompt. This is a sample file. You see something written here printing hello world? That is the comment. Comments in Ruby always start with a hash symbol. Okay, so anything that starts with a hash in Ruby is a comment. And what follows next will be your command, will be your Ruby code. So in this I have written a very simple Ruby code as put as hello world. Okay, I have written it. I'll try to execute it. What should I do to execute? I should go to the path where my file is saved. Now suppose if I save the file in desktop, CD is used to change the directory. Okay, so CD desktop, and I'm just writing Ruby space my file name hello_world.rb. It will print me the result. Okay, so there are two ways of executing Ruby command. If you want to have a quick execution, you can anytime use IRB, that is the interactive Ruby shell. And if you want to write a big file and you don't want to keep executing time to time, you can anytime create a file with .rb as extension, and while executing you have to go to that path and then write ruby space your file name. Your file name is hello_world.rb. Your file gets executed. Okay, next. Now every language that we write has certain types of variables. Now a language like C, we have int, float. Okay, similarly Ruby also has certain variables, data types. Now what is a variable? A variable is a place to store the data. Whatever number you create, whatever strings or whatever text, whatever you want to store, you'll need a variable for sure. So variable is a place to store data. Now there are different types of variables that are used in Ruby. We'll begin. First one is global variables. So a global variables is something which is available throughout the program, that is global. Now to write, suppose we have a variable called color. If you want to declare a global variable, what we write? We write a dollar in front of it and it becomes a global variable. So a global variable is something which begins with a dollar and its scope is it is available throughout the program. Instance variable. Instance variable is has a scope only pertaining to the object of the class. Okay. So when we declare an scope is it is available throughout the program. Instance variable. Instance variable is has a scope only pertaining to the object of the class. Okay. So when we declare an instance variable, we'll write at the rate. We'll get to know more about instance variables once we start writing the programs. For now, remember instance variable starts with. Next is class variables. Class variables begin with at the rate, at the rate. Now if you have a variable called color and you want to make it as a class variable, what we do? We add a 2 at the rate in front of it and it becomes a class variable. Next is a local variable. Now how a global variable is applicable throughout the program, a local variable scope ends with the block. Suppose if you define a variable inside a function or inside an if block or any for loop, so the its validity of that variable will always be inside that block only. Outside that block the variable will not exist. Such variables are called local variables. Local variables can be directly written. Next are constants. Constants are if you have a value which will stay constant throughout the program. Say best example would be value of pi. Pi is a very constant value. Value of pi will never change. So such variables you can declare as constant. So in Ruby, when you have to declare a constant variable, we directly write everything in capital letters. Okay. So here if color is a variable, I have written it as all caps. So this will become a constant variable. Its value will not be changed anyway in the program. Once you declare it, it is the same. Next. Now we'll see what are the data types. So the various data types that are present are numbers, strings, boolean, symbols, arrays and hashes. Okay. So we'll begin with numbers. Numbers can be of two types, integers and floats. Integers are whole numbers and floats are decimal numbers. There are various operations that we can perform on numbers like addition, subtraction, multiplication, division and exponent. So the basic arithmetic operations you can perform on Ruby numbers. We'll check examples here so that you'll understand it better. Okay, so declare variable a as 5. Now in Ruby, when you have to declare a variable, you need not mention what type of variable it is. Now in suppose if you are writing in C, if you want to declare an integer variable, what do we write? Int a equal to 10. Here int specifies that this is okay, this variable is of type int. But when you are working with Ruby, you need not specify anything. Directly a equal to 5. It will assume that it's an integer number. Okay. Now a is 5 and b is say 7. Okay. So we have declared two variables a and b. Now you want to sum them. What we do? We just write a plus a plus b. We get 12. Okay, very simple operations, just how you do sum in the calculator. Similarly here directly you can start doing any mathematical operations that you want. Similarly a minus b will give me minus 2. or if you want to do a into 2, something. Okay. Now we'll see some of the other operations. Now this is integer, right? Now what if I declare float? A is say 5.7, B is 7.9. What will be A plus B? See, you see the precision here? Okay, so whenever we give float numbers, it will submit, and also it will give the precision. Okay, next. So similarly, you can perform any kind of operations on integers, any mathematical operations directly in the IRB or through your program. Okay. We'll continue with the next topic. Commonly used data types in any language. Strings are nothing but anything that you write between double quote and single quote, that will become your string. Any text that you write within it. Okay. We'll see what a string interpolation is. In Ruby, a variable is evaluated and replaced in a string using, you see something, hash and a curly braces. Whatever you write inside this will be evaluated. We'll see an example, you'll understand it better. Language. Okay, so this is my string. So what is a string? A string is something which is written between double quotes. It will automatically become a string. Now we are trying to understand what is a string interpolation is. For that, let me give you an example. Say A is 5 and B is some 9. Okay, I have declared two variables as A and B. Now I'll write a printf statement as put as the sum of A. So what is this? This is your hash followed by a curly braces and B is hash A plus B. Okay. So what do we get here? The sum of 5 and 9 is 14. This is what is written. So what is string interpolation? String interpolation is whenever you write anything between hash and curly braces and you pass a variable to it, the variable gets substituted with its original value. Like the sum of A and B is A plus B we have written here. So what did it do? It took the value of A, it took the value of B and it just summed it. So the sum of 5 and 9 is 14. This is an example of string interpolation. Okay. Now let's see next. Since what we try to change the string in some or the other way. We'll check some of the methods. First, now suppose if I take a string called say Ruby is awesome, some string. Okay. Now I want to convert this string into completely capital. So what do I do? String dot uppercase. Uppercase is a Ruby method that will convert your string everything to uppercase. It will make everything capital. Similarly, downcase will make everything in lower alphabets. You can reverse your string using str.reverse. Shall we see example execution so that you will understand it better? First, what I want to do, I want to check if I can make it completely capital. For that, I use the method of uppercase. String dot uppercase. Uppercase will convert your string everything to capital. Now everything was in normal case. Now it has become an uppercase. Similarly, you can do downcase. Okay, this will become normal. Now if I want to reverse the string, I'll use dot reverse. Dot reverse will completely reverse your string. Okay. Similarly, what if you want to substitute? Now my string is currently Ruby is awesome. Instead of awesome, I want to write something like Ruby is wonderful or something. What do? I use a method called gsub. So string dot gsub. Gsub is nothing but substitution. It will take the word. Now suppose you have written here awesome. Awesome, I want to replace it with say wonderful. What will it do? It will check for the word as awesome and it will replace it with wonderful. So it will become Ruby is wonderful. So what is gsub? Gsub is used for substitution. It will look for the keyword which you specify and it will replace with the keyword which you specify after that. Now here I replaced awesome with wonderful. So my string is become Ruby is wonderful instead of Ruby is awesome because we did substitution here. Now if you want to check all the methods that are applicable on Ruby's check what are all the various methods that I can apply on string. I have given you 2-3 examples like up case, down case, reverse. Similarly, there are many methods which you can apply. If you want to check all the methods which can be applied on a particular string, Ruby provides a method called methods. Okay. str.method. So in str.method, you see that there is a list of things that is being returned, right? Like, okay, so these are all the methods which you can apply on the string. Of this, I have used a gsub, reverse, upcase, downcase. Similarly, there are many more methods which you can based on your requirement you can start using it. So if you want to see what are all the various methods which are applicable on a particular string, you can anytime run str.methods. Okay, so if you happen to start practicing Ruby and you download it in your system, you can try experimenting with these methods. We'll go to next. No, you can just change uppercase to lowercase and lowercase to uppercase, just interchanges the case. There are many more methods, you can try them. Next is array. Now what is an array? You must have learnt about array in other languages, right? In C, Java. So similarly, Ruby also has array. An array is an object that stores other objects. Okay. Each element in an array is associated and referred by an index. Whenever you declare an array, the first thing that you should understand is that all the values in the arrays are indexed. Indexed in the sense, once you declare an array, every value will have some number, an index to it, through which we can refer them. Now, suppose I declare an array called ARR as 1, 2, 3. Now, this like all the other languages, in Ruby also, arrays are declared between square brackets. Okay, and all the values are separated by comma, just like regular array. Now I declared an array called 1, 2, 3. Now I suppose I want to get array value 1. What do I write? ARR of 0. Okay. Now, if we want to push a value into an array, we use the less than operator or push method. Okay. Now, so we have ARR. I have 3 values in that, 1, 2, 3. I want to add additional value of 4. What do? ARR dot push of 4. Or I can write ARR less than 4. We'll see an example. 0. What will it return? It should return 1. ARR of 3. Is ARR of 3 present? It is not present because arrays indexes always start with 0. So the first value if you want to retrieve, we use ARR of 0. Similarly, second value will be ARR of 1 and third value will be ARR of 2. There are 3 values and indexes will be 0, 1, 2. Now suppose if I try to retrieve ARR of 3. ARR of 3 is not present because there are only 3 values. Error, it will not say that value is not present. It will simply return nil. And nil means nothing. Remember this, nil means nothing. There is nothing present in that, so it will return nil. Okay. Now I want to push another value. ARR dot push of say some 4. Now what will it do? It will add an additional value of 4. Till now it was 1, 2, 3. We added an extra value of 4. And there is another way to do this, less than operator of 4. Okay. So initially we had 1, 2, 3. Through push method we added another value of 4. So it became 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we pushed the 4 again using less than operator. So we totally have 5 elements now. Now this is about pushing in an array. What if you want to remove from an array? To remove from an array, we use a method called pop. Push and pop, opposite. Okay. So arr.pop. So last value will always be removed. So initially we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. We did arr.pop. Pop will always remove the last value that we pushed. So it became 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So this is about array. Now, like how we have string manipulation methods, similarly, array also has its own method. Like for example, you want to know how many elements are there in an array. What do we use? We use size. So arr.size 4. There are totally 4 elements in the array. So dot size method will return how many elements are present in your array currently. Now, like how we used dot methods for string to get all the methods that you can use, similarly for an array also you can use arr dot methods. This will also return all the applicable methods on your array. Okay. Dot push, dot pop. There are many methods. So try exploring arrays. It's simple operations would be push and pop. How to push in an array, how to pop from an array, size, and if you want to see all the other methods, you can just do arr dot methods. It will return you all the possible methods that you can apply on your array. Now for example, here we did size, right? Arr dot size. You can similarly do arr dot reverse. What will it do? It will reverse all the elements. Instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, it became 4, 3, 2, 1. So dot reverse will just reverse all the elements. Now this array can store anything. Okay, here we have stored integers. We can even store strings like arr1. If I declare it, I can store alphabets as well. You can store anything in array. You can store, okay, like this. You can store anything in an array. An array is something which stores other objects. Okay. So we have seen some of the basic methods that we can apply, like size, push, pop. There are several other methods which can be used. We'll go ahead to other data type. Now I have declared hash within a curly brace. Okay, this is the starting brace and that is the ending brace. Inside this we have declared key value pair. 1 corresponds to 1, 2 corresponds to 2, 3 corresponds to 3. So the first element that you see before comma, that is a key value pair. Similarly, you can have multiple key value pairs in an hash. So here 1, you see the string 1, that is called the key, and the 1 number is called the value. Okay. So a combination of a key and value and multiple key value together forms an hash. Hash is nothing but a combination of key and a value. Now you want to access value. Now we have just seen that in an array, if you want to access a value, what do? We write of 0, of 1, something like that. In an hash, if you want to access something, we give hash of, in the square bracket, we pass the key. Okay. So hash 1 will return 1. So when you pass the key, it will return the value. Okay. Now if you want to create a new key value pair, we just write like this, hash of. Now 4 is not present in my hash currently. So what I do, I create a key called 4 and I assign its value to 4. We'll see an example, you'll understand it better. So A is the key, 1 is the value. Similarly, I'll create another key as B, and its value I'll give it as 2. So now in my hash there are two things. Two key value pairs. One is A and one is B. A and B are the keys, 1 and 2 are its respective values. Okay. Now I want to access this hash. What do I do? My hash of A. What it should return? It should return 1. Okay. So how to access hash keys? So what we do? We take the hash, inside a square bracket we pass the key, and what it returns is its value. Okay. So this is simple operation. We'll see how to create a new key value pair inside an existing hash. Now my hash, I have A and B. Suppose I create something called C. This is a new key. To this I want to assign a value of say 3. Now I'll check my hash. My hash has A, B, C, and a new value called C is added. Okay. Clear. Is this clear? If you have any queries regarding any data types, you can just post it in the chat box. No issues. Okay, I'm just clearing the screen. Okay. Got it? So what is a hash? Hash is nothing but a key value pair combinations. Okay. Symbols. Okay, what is a symbol? A symbol is created by adding a colon in front of a word. Now if I have a word called column, if I just add a colon in front of it, it will become a symbol. Okay, symbols are nothing but anything which begins with a colon is a symbol. So why do we use symbol and what is the purpose of a symbol? Symbols are unique identifiers that are considered code. Okay, these are very unique, and in Ruby, every variable or every object that you create has a corresponding object underscore ID. Okay, suppose if I create a number called 3, okay, so that 3 number will have a unique ID to it, which is called object underscore ID. Now, for this symbol, object underscore ID will remain constant throughout the program. Object ID of a symbol never changes. So, this is the reason why symbols are used as key for a hash. Okay, so just remember that symbols are something that begins with a colon, and object ID of symbols never change. They remain constant throughout the program. Fine, we'll go ahead. Are Boolean data types. Like any other language, C, C++, Java, Booleans are nothing but true and false. Okay, so true and false are the two Boolean data types, and they are constant. Okay, nil is a special object in Ruby that represents nothing. Just now we have seen the previous examples, right, where it returned a nil. So nil is nothing but nothing. So if you want to check if an object is nil or not, we use a method called nil question mark. This nil question mark will tell whether the object on which we are using this method is nil or not. For example, I used a nil, dot nil, I am questioning it, it will return true. So nil question mark will tell whether the object on which you are doing this is nil or not. So similarly 100 is not a nil value. So 100 dot nil if I do, it will return false. Why? Because 100 is not nil, 100 is 100. Okay. So this is about Boolean and nil. We'll check what are others. Now methods. So what are methods? Methods are nothing but functions. Okay, functions in Ruby are called methods. You must have written functions in other languages. Functions is nothing but a set of statements which are written together. A method is a set of repeatable statements written together. So in Ruby, if you want to declare a method, what we use a reserved keyword called def. Def is, with def you can define a method or declare a method. And name of method should always begin with a lowercase letter. For example, I have declared a method called my underscore method with using a keyword called def. So def space my underscore method. So this is my definition of the method. Inside this I can write anything and it ends with the keyword end. Okay. So def space name of the method. Inside this we write whatever we want. Suppose for example I have written a simple put statement here. This is a method. And then I'm ending it. In Ruby, we don't use curly braces like in other languages. If you have to declare a block, what we do, we use the curly braces. But in Ruby, if you want to declare a block, we just write it between def and end. Between def and end, whatever you write, that will become a part of the method. A method, if you want to invoke a method, you can simply write its name and the method will be executed. Okay, so we'll see one small example. Underscore method. Okay, here I have declared one method. Inside this I'll write something, put s this is a method and end it. So if you want to declare a method, you use the keyword as def followed by the method name. Once you start writing inside it, whatever you write within the def and end will become the body of that method. In this case I have simply written put as this is a method. Now I want to call this method, I want to invoke this method. What do? I simply write its name, my underscore method. It will return this is a method. Okay, so this is a very basic example where we have seen how to create a method, and whatever you write after the def keyword will become the method name, and whatever you write before ending the method, okay, that will become the body of the method. In this case I have written this is a method. Okay, and how do we invoke a method? We just call the method name. Next, so you can pass parameters to Ruby methods and you can do some manipulation on those parameters. Here I have taken a very simple example. I have defined a method called my underscore method which will take two parameters as a comma b. Okay, whatever you write in the brackets, right, those will be the parameters for the method. Inside the body of the method I have written a very simple statement using string interpolation here to find the sum of two numbers. Okay, and I have end. Keyword end means my method has now ended. Now I want to call the method. So what I'll do, I'll simply write the method name. But here my method, my underscore method is accepting two parameters of a comma b. So I am supposed to pass those parameters. So I am passing here 3 comma 4. What will happen? 3 comma 4 will go to that method, and using string interpolation we are able to see the value. Okay. So you just note down this example and you can try using various parameters and all. So to define a method, we use the keyword as def, and to end a method, we use the keyword as end. And whatever you write between these two statements will become your body. So how to invoke a method? Invoking or calling a method both mean the same. So how to call a method? We simply write the method name. Okay. So if you want to write a method with parameter, what do? We declare two parameters, and while invoking the method, we have to compulsory pass the method parameters, so that with those parameters execution will happen. Okay, so this is method and method with parameters. We'll see the next topic, classes. Okay, Ruby is an object-oriented language. So with every object-oriented language, we have the concepts of classes and objects. So what are classes? Classes are nothing but it's a blueprint. Okay, inside which we define our variables and methods. So like any other programming language, any other object-oriented programming language like Java and C, Ruby also use classes. So how do we declare and define classes in Ruby? Classes are defined using the keyword class and closed with the keyword end. Okay, between class and end. But a class name should begin with an uppercase and should be camel case. Camel casing in the sense, if you have two words, both the words first letter should be capitalized. That is camel case. Now I have given a very simple example of class is song. Class is space song end. So this is how I declare a class. Now we'll see how do we create an object for the class. Object initialization. An object for Ruby class is created using the keyword new. New is the keyword through which we create an object for a class. Now in the previous slide we have seen that I wrote a very simple class called song. Okay. So song is my class name. So if I do song.new, new is the keyword to create an object. So if I do song.new, it creates an object for the class song. Okay. Now whenever Ruby creates a new object, it looks for a method named initialize and executes it. I have given a very simple example here. Class. Class is the keyword to define a class. Song is the name of my class. So class song. Inside this I have written a method. A method is declared using keyword def. Okay. So def and initialize is a inbuilt Ruby method. Okay. So whenever a new object is created using new keyword, it looks for a method called initialize. So def initialize. Inside this I have declared two variables. What are they? @singer is John and @album equal to music pop. @rate variables, as I have told earlier, are instance variables. Their scope is they lie for an object. Okay, an instance variable is always mapped to an object. We'll see an example here. Okay, I will declare a method called initialize. Def initialize. Inside this, I am going to declare two instance variables. Instance variables are variables that begin with symbol. So some name is say John. Some album. Some music pop. I'm ending two ends I have added here because I have to end the def and I have to end the class. So to end. Okay. Now I created a class. Now what I want to do, I want to create an object for this class. So song.new. Okay, this will simply create one object. So song.new will give what? A song object with two variables mapped to it as @name and @album. You see some value here 0x23, that's the ID of the object. Okay, so just note down this example of how to create a class, how to create an object. We'll see inheritance. So what is inheritance? Inheritance is relation between two classes. Okay. the class that is inheriting behavior is called the subclass, and the class it inherits from is called the superclass. So there are two classes, subclass and the superclass. We'll see an example. Okay. Inheritance example called mammal. Okay, so I have declared a class using the variable class, and as every class should begin with a capital letter, my class mammal also begins with a capital letter M. Inside this, I have written a method called breathe. So how do we declare a method? We use the keyword def. Okay, so def breathe. Inside that, I have written a put test statement of all mammals breathe. I have written end, two ends here, one to end the method, one to end the class, two end statements. Now this is my class mammal, which in this example is a superclass, the parent class. Okay, now I created another class called dog. Okay, now this class dog is inheriting all its properties from the class mammal. So in Ruby, when you want to show inheritance, we use the keyword as we use the left arrow. Okay, so when you between dog and mammal, if I write a left arrow, it means that dog is inheriting the class mammal. Okay, so that is we are declaring inheritance here. Fine. Now inside this class, I again wrote a method called speak. Def speak. Inside this, I wrote one put test statement of say barks. Now I ended the two things. Okay, we'll execute this and see. Okay, now I'll write a class called mammal. Inside this class, I'm declaring a method called breathe. Now inside the method, I'm writing a put test. What that put test is, all mammals breathe. Okay, some put test. Def end, class end. Okay, so this is my class with one method called breathe. Similarly, I'll create another class called dog. This inherits the class mammal. Okay, inside this def, I'll write a method called speak. Test box. Def end, class end. What I have done here, I have created two classes, mammal and dog. Dog class is inheriting the mammal class. Okay. Now I'll create an object for the mammal. So how do we create an object? Mammal dot new. Okay, a new object is created. Now I want to access the methods. What we'll do is we'll store this mammal.new in a variable @ mammal_object. So my mammal_object contains the mammal class object. Now with the help of this object, I'll try to invoke its method. So how do we invoke a method? Using dot method name. Object dot method name will invoke the method here. So what does it return? It returns all mammals breathe. What I have done here is mammal.new. With this I have created a okay. With this I have created an object. This object I am storing in an instance variable called @ mammal_object. Now I have an object. I want to call its method. How do I call its method? I call its method using object dot method name. In this case, at the rate mammal underscore object dot breathe will call the def breathe method. Okay. So what do I get in return? I got the print statement all mammals breathe. Now we'll create an object for the class dog. So at the rate dog object. Is what dog.new. Okay. Now at this dog underscore object, first I will call a method from the dog class itself. What is the method declared in the dog class? Speak. Okay, this is the method which I have declared. So dot object dot speak should return barks. Now using this, since dog class is inheriting the mammal class, here what I can do is we can access the mammals class methods as well using dog object because it is inheritance. So dog underscore object dot, what is the method in its superclass? It's the breathe. Okay, all mammals breathe. So what do we understand from here? So a child class can access its parent class method, that is nothing but inheritance. A child class can access its parent's class method. What if we try to do the reverse? A parent class accessing the child class method. It will throw an error saying undefined method speak for mammal. So using inheritance, we have declared two classes, a class mammal and a class dog. So class inheriting the class dog is inheriting the class mammal. So once we create object for both the classes, what we observed is that using the parent class, you can parent class can access parent class method, child class can access child class and parent class method. Whereas a parent class object cannot access a child class method. Reverse is not possible. Only child can access parent. Parent cannot access child. When we tried to do this, we got an error saying undefined method. Okay. We'll take a break for 5 minutes. What are class? How we can write setters and getters. Okay. So what are setters and getters? Using setters and getters, we can set value to a and retrieve that value. Okay. So I'll write a simple example called class. Say something in mammal. Okay. Inside this, I'll declare a initialize method. This initialize methods accepts two parameters of a comma b. Inside this, I'll write an instance variable at the rate name is a at the rate type is b and okay. So what did I do now? I took a class called mammal again. Inside this, I have defined a method called initialize, which accepts two parameters a and b. And inside that initialize method, what I'm doing, I'm assigning that a and b value to different instance variables. Okay. Now what I'll do, I'll create an object, say mammal underscore object as mammal.new. But this will throw an error. Why? See, observe the error. It says argument error. Wrong number of arguments. 0 for 2. Why did we get this error? Because in the initialize method, we have told that our initialize method will accept two parameters as a and b. But we are not passing any parameter while creating the object. So it will throw an error. So what we'll do while creating an object, we'll pass a parameter. What is that parameter? Say name. Say cat. Type some animal. Okay. Some example I'm taking here, and I'll create it. What do you observe here? Whatever value we pass in the new method will be assigned to that instance variables. Okay. So this is a very basic example of setter. Okay. Now let's see. In other languages like Java and C, in Java you must have come across something called constructor. So initialize is nothing but a constructor. It will set all the variables required for that class. Here they are called instance variables. Okay. Now I have a class called mammal. Now on this object mammal underscore object, I want to see what are all the operations they can perform on this object. Now if you remember, for arrays and hashes, we use a method called methods, which will give us a list of all the methods which we can apply on an array. Similarly, here also we can do that. What do we get? We get all the methods which you can apply. Okay. Now, for example, the first thing that you see is breathe. Why did we get this here? Because earlier we had declared a self-defined method called breathe inside the class mammal. Okay. So, object.methods will return user-defined methods as well as the inbuilt methods. We'll execute few and see so that you'll understand this. Now, I have mammal underscore object. What is the first thing that you see here? Breathe. Breathe is a user defined method. So if I call it, I'll get all mammals breathe. Why? Because this is what we have. This is how we have defined our method. Next, you want to see what are all the instance variables declared. What do we do? Instance underscore variables. Instance underscore variables will return an array with the list of all the instance variables that are declared inside that class. Okay. Observe it very carefully here. Both of them are symbols. Symbols means which begin with a colon. Okay. The mammal object dot instance variables will return the list of all the instance variables which are declared inside the class. Okay. Now similarly, if you want to find out, you have an object. You don't know to which class it belongs. What do? We just use dot class. This is our class mammal. Okay. If you want to know which class the object belongs to, we use the method dot class. It will return the class name. Okay. At the same time, you want to know that if this object is really an object of class mammal. Now, @mammal underscore object dot instance of. Instance of, what is an instance? An instance is nothing but an object. So what are we checking here? We are checking if the object belongs to a particular class or no. It will return true. What did we do here? We took our object. On that we are running the method instance underscore of. Instance underscore of will accept one parameter called mammal or whatever class name you are passing. Here what we are checking is if this object is an object of class mammal, it will return true. Similarly, if I try to do instance of on dog, it will return false. Why? Because we created mammal object on the mammal class, not on the dog class. So it will return false. So instance of is a method which is used to check if the object belongs to a particular class or not. Its return value will be true or false. Okay. So this is about instance of. We have checked instance of, what are all the instance variables declared inside the class and how to get its class name using the method dot class. So there are many methods, as you can see here. There are many methods which we can apply on a class. All you have to do is just to do object.methods. It will return an array of all the applicable methods. You can try executing one by one and check what is the purpose of each of these methods. Like after breathe, we have something called nil. Nil, you remember what I had told? Nil is nothing. Okay. Dot nil. It will return false, because nil will check if the parent object on which we are executing is nil or not. So nil question mark will return true or false. Okay. Object ID. What object ID is nothing but every object that you create in Ruby has an ID associated with it. To know that ID, we use the method object underscore ID. It will return some number. Okay. I executed it once. I'll execute it again. Okay. Same object underscore ID will return the ID of that particular object stored in the memory. Okay. So these are all the various methods that we can apply on objects. This dot methods is a method which you can apply on anything. Like for example, I applied it here on an object. Similarly, you can even apply it on array, you can apply it on hashes, you can apply it on strings, anything. So what I'll suggest is that you install Ruby so that you can start exploring on how to work. Okay. All you need is, since Ruby is an open source language, you can download it anytime that you want and you can just run these commands and check. You can start writing simple basic programs on Ruby. It's a very simple language to learn. Okay, so anybody has any queries, they can just post it in the chat box. I'll respond to them. Yeah, we have another 10 minutes. So if you have any queries, we'll just clear them right now. Next, we have seen what is IRB and we have written many commands in IRB. So this is how you run a Ruby file, Ruby space file name. So we have seen what are different types of variables like $, at the rate is nothing but instance variables. Class variables are at the rate. Local variables are something which are pertaining to a particular block. And what are constants? Constants are nothing but whose value remain constant throughout the program. Next, we have seen what are various data types like numbers, strings, booleans, symbols, arrays, and hashes. Okay. So what are numbers? Numbers are nothing but integers and floats, and we have seen what are the various arithmetic operations that we can apply on various numbers. Like integer will, if you apply any arithmetic operation on an integer, it will return an integer. Similarly, if you apply it on float, it will return a float. Strings are nothing but which are declared within double quotes, and we have seen what is string interpolation, and we have also seen some of the methods on string, like upcase, downcase, reverse, swap case, and substitution, gsub. Okay. Next, what is an array, and how do we store an array? How do we access array elements? How do we push in an array? How do we pop from an array? Okay. So we have seen basic examples on array and how to use array. Like if you want to know what is the size of an array, we use array name dot size. It will return how many elements are present in an array. Whereas if you try to access an array index which is not at all present, it will return nil. Now what are hashes? We have seen hashes are nothing but combination of key value pairs. The one on the left hand side is called the key, and the one after the arrow is called the value. So hash of key will always return the value. Now if you want to create a new key value pair, what do we do? Hash of that key equal to its value will create another key value pair in your hash. So hashes can use any kind of objects as key and value. Means here we have taken an example of string as key and value. Instead of that, we can use numbers, we can use symbols, we can use array, any data type we can use as key, any data type we can use as value. Now we have seen what is a symbol. A symbol is nothing that's begin with a colon. Its object IDs remain constant throughout the program. Boolean and nil. Boolean means true and false are the Boolean data types. Nil is nothing but nothing, and we have also seen nil question mark method to check whether an object is really nil or not. Okay. We have seen what are methods. Methods are nothing but functions. And to declare a method, we use the keyword as def. To end the method, we use the keyword as end. And method should always be lowercase. And how do we call a method? We call it using its name. That's it. Now, if you want to declare a method with parameters. Okay, here we have two parameters, a comma b. Inside this, using string interpolation, we are trying to print its value. So while we are invoking the method, we are passing some parameters. So this is nothing but method with parameters. Classes. So how do we define classes? Classes are defined using the keyword class and are ended with the keyword end. Whatever you write between class and end will become the body of that class. Inside a class, you can write methods, you can declare variables. And we have seen how to initialize an object. We declare a method called initialize, which is the default method that comes with every class. Okay, it's a predefined method. Inside def initialize, we have given instance variables. We have also seen an example how to pass parameters to an initialize method. To pass parameters to an initialize method, while creating the object, we pass certain values. Okay, those are called setters. Similarly, inheritance. What is inheritance? We have seen inheritance is nothing but relation between two classes, subclass and the superclass. Subclass is the child class, superclass is the parent class. We have also seen an example here. Class mammal and class dog. Class dog inheritance the class mammal. And we have seen a simple execution. Okay, how to create an object and how to call the methods on an object. We have also observed that child class, that is the subclass object, can access both superclass and subclass method. So this